Well, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you guys for coming on. We are going to have a short show today. So, my guest had a bit of a family emergency, couldn't make it to get on the show, but that's all good. We're going to go ahead and talk about Mike White a little bit, and then we're going to go ahead and announce the winner of the Garrett Wilson mini helmet giveaway via a raffle live on screen so you guys can see the winner being picked live. That way, there's no cutscenes, no concerns, no questions. You guys know what's right. So, without further ado,
I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the renaissance. You know that I got the mother sauce. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you won a loss? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a renaissance man. I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the renaissance. You know that I got the mother sauce. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you won a loss? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a renaissance man.
Congratulations, brother. Hey.
And here we go.
okay. All right. So, it's going to be it's just me tonight. Just me tonight. So, I guess what it boils down to is this whole episode is going to be geared around Mike White. Mike White just had another incredible performance this past Sunday against the Chicago Bears. And I think for me, it's kind of comical because a lot of individuals are going to say that, well, it was the Bears. Not a big deal. Not impressive. We shouldn't look into it so much or be too hyped about it. And we have what it appears to be like a split, I guess you can say a split fan base. You know, we've got the Zach Wilson guys who love Zach, believe he's the guy. And then you've got the guys who believe that we need to go ahead and just let Mike White cook, right? Let Mike White show us what he's about. And I guess for me, it kind of boils down to like a simple aspect of, are we rooting for players on this team or are we rooting for the team itself? I've seen some pretty freaking aggressive stuff this past week in regards to that line, right? That separation of whether or not we want to go Mike White or Zach Wilson. Not to say you can't have an opinion about, you know what I'm saying, who you think your quarterback should be. I just think that we've taken it to a point where it's a bit aggressive in the way we see things and the way we see individuals react. And I would say even engage with the current demographic of who our quarterback is going to be. On the one hand, you've got Zach Wilson, who is extremely talented. Number 2 overall pick just 2 years ago. I think a lot of us here believed he was going to be the guy. We got sold on him being the guy based off primarily on well, but trusting in Joe Douglas, right? There was a lot of noise about San Francisco wanting Zach Wilson. We refused to move back. We thought he was going to be the guy. He was a great system fit. A lot of us were enamored and in love with what we saw in terms of and I think we were all enamored, you know what I'm saying, regarding what we saw online. And it was just one of those where the majority of us probably had, of course, Trevor Lawrence is number 1. I know I had Justin Fields as number 2. And then after that, it kind of got a little muddied, right? I think Zach Wilson moved up to my 3rd option after a while, but after the media frenzy, I became a believer in what Zach Wilson could bring to the table, right? And then I pushed him up ahead of Justin Fields. But with that said, he has struggled. He has struggled. Now, it's obvious, right? Coming from BYU, there was going to be a learning curve. It's obvious that coming from BYU, he had to go ahead and figure some things out. And I'm not taking away from that. I'm not going to pretend even for a moment that isn't something that like we can look at and realize for ourselves. It's going to be a process. But I can say this in terms of right now, the New York Jets rebuild that we all assume was going to take 2 to 3 years has been accelerated. You see a lot of individuals who've gotten a level of growth and maturity and understand what it means to win in a very short time frame. Guys like Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, Jermaine Johnson, Brees Hall before his injury. These are guys who I think matured significantly faster than any of us could have imagined. And because of that, it's kind of expedited or accelerated the rebuild process for this team. And unfortunately, in doing so, they've lapped Zach Wilson. Literally, they've lapped Zach Wilson. He has not developed as quickly as we were hoping for. And I know when a lot of us came into the season, the majority of us were thinking, you know what, this season is about seeing what Zach Wilson can do. This season is about seeing how much this team can progress just a little bit. We get our 7-8 wins, you know what I'm saying? We would have called that a win. And I still believe most people would say 7-8 win season for the Jets is a win. But as we saw this team continue to progress, we realized real quickly, wow, these guys are really, really good. This defense is actually a playoff caliber defense. Went from playoff caliber defense to Super Bowl caliber defense. We're talking about a group of guys who are gelling. And then it dawns on you, right, that the whole concept of this rebuild was also based off of last year's performance. We completely forgot that last year we had I think, the most cap space on IR last year. Most players getting paid on IR last year. So there's a whole year of free agent acquisitions that we didn't get a chance to even see play last year. So in our mindsets, we were thinking we were, in essence, starting, I guess you can say, fresh. But these guys had a whole training camp and offseason in the system last year. They just didn't get a chance to play because of injury. And you're starting to see it all come together now and all come to fruition. And I think that's why this rebuild has kind of gone as fast as it has and kind of lapped what Zach Wilson brings to the table. And as frustrating as it is, it's put us as a fan base in, I guess you can say, its own little mini civil war, so to speak, right? Where there's those of us who believe what Mike White just did this past weekend, Zach Wilson could have done or done better, which I think is kind of comical, right? Seeing that we've not seen Zach Wilson take advantage of weaker defenses throughout his tenure thus far with us. And in fact, it almost seems as if the game is just way too fast for Zach Wilson. Now, Mike White is still he's 27 years old, been in the league for about 5 years now. This is the guy right now that, showed us last year against Cincinnati that he had upside. Even against the Indianapolis Colts, you saw him flash a little bit in that first quarter. And then it all came crashing down against the Buffalo Bills. And I think when that happened, it caused us to go ahead and get tunnel vision, right? At that point, we saw him against the Buffalo Bills. We started calculating that, based off of his performance in that game, he was on track with over 40 interceptions in the season, and we didn't want to see any more of Mike White. But the fact of the matter is, this past Sunday, you saw somebody who saw the field. Mike White sees the field. I'm not going to say he has the arm talent of a Zach Wilson. That would just be naive and just untrue. But he has field vision. He understands the playbook. He's been in this system for 2 years as well, and he's grasped it significantly quicker than, I got to admit, Zach Wilson has, or at the very least in terms of demonstration and putting what he's learned on tape and on the field. We haven't seen Zach Wilson really do it like that. And I think the question is just basically, what do we want from this Jets roster? On the one hand, yes, it's very possible that this team is only going to get better, right? There's the individuals who believe, you know what, this year we're significantly ahead of where we thought we were going to be. That's winning. Ultimately, it was all about gauging Zach Wilson, gauging the progression of the team. Can the coaches coach in this league, et cetera, et cetera. I think a lot of people feel better about the coaching staff. A lot of people feel better about the team than we originally thought we were going to be. I don't think any of us anticipated that we would have this much wow factor from this team. That being said, Zach Wilson is probably the one aspect that hasn't truly impressed. And in fact, if you look at the statistics from last year and this year, they're literally identical. Zach Wilson has shown literally no improvement whatsoever from last year. Identical in terms of percentages, in terms of every aspect. It hasn't been one of those things where we can look at Zach and feel as if we're getting our money's worth, if that makes any sense. He's a second overall pick. Does that mean we quit on him? I don't know if that's the answer. I really don't. I don't know if the answer is we go back to the drawing board. I know right now we're looking at next year. People are talking about, hey, maybe we get Jimmy Garoppolo, Derek Carr, There's a couple of names being thrown around, but in all actuality, it's more beneficial for us if Zach Wilson is the guy, financially speaking. There's a lot of talent on this roster that we now have to retain. And the way you win in this league is if you gain talent, you cultivate it, you go ahead, add some free agent pieces here and there to go ahead and pretty much round out your skill set in order to make those runs. And having a quarterback on a rookie deal is usually a huge benefit. But in this particular situation / scenario, Zach Wilson's a liability. He's a liability. And I know I'm going to get a lot of people who come for me because I'm quitting on the kid. And I'm not saying we're quitting on the kid. It doesn't have to be that he sits this year, the rest of this year, and that means fans have quit on the kid. Zach Wilson has been horrendous. He has been. This team is ready to win right now. So what are we doing? We're going to go ahead and potentially waste a season in order for us to see if this kid's going to grow? I don't think that's the smart move here. And obviously the coaching staff doesn't believe so either. Mike White gives this team an opportunity to, in every aspect of the word, make a run. Make a run, right? We don't need a quarterback to kind of come in there and be the savior, right? Or the guy that's going to figure it all out and freaking, light the scene up. We don't need that. We need somebody who can manage this game, get the ball into our playmakers' hands, give our defense the opportunity to go ahead and win games. This running game, we saw a couple of great things from Bam McKnight this weekend as well. As you probably already know, Mike Carter is hurt. I didn't see much of Robinson this weekend. I'm not sure if he was a healthy scratch or what's going on with that. But we did see Bam and Johnson, play pretty well this weekend. Running game was looking really good. The offensive line being patched together by guys coming off of the IR seemed to hold their own. You saw Connor McGovern, I think, having his best game of the season in terms of his blocking. It was very, very impressive, both running and passing. It was an all-around team win this weekend. So when you see that kind of all-around team win, it makes you wonder, the biggest difference, I think, on offense was that you didn't see Mike White, sprinting around back there behind the line of scrimmage, spinning around, looking, to make individuals that get into the backfield miss. Nah, he knew how to manipulate the pocket. He slid to the left, slid to the right, looking downfield every single time, looking to move the ball. He helped out his offensive line. And I think that isn't being given enough credit. I just don't believe it's being given enough credit. And yeah, I think ultimately for me, man, it's one of those things where Michael Carter gives this team the best opportunity right now to win games. He just does. Mike Carter right now understands this offense, understands his playmakers. The locker room supports him. They're behind him. That goes a long way. And I think as an organization and as a fan base, it's our job to go ahead and just pretty much root for our team. Not for Zach, not for players, but for our team. And right now, Mike White gives this team the best chance to win. An individual who understands the system, understands what's being asked of him, and is willing to do exactly that. And I know some people are going to look at me and say that I'm quitting on Zach, but I'm not quitting on Zach. I'm just all about making sure the current quarterback, that the person that gives our team the best chance to win is the guy that's playing. I just can't see us giving up on this season in order for us to help develop Zach Wilson. And I know long term that's going to be a benefit for us. I get that, but we cannot guarantee this level of performance from our defense again next season. There's no guaranteeing that. We have no idea which components we may lose. We have no idea which components may still be present. And with that said, it makes zero sense for us to go ahead and risk the potential to make the playoffs this year. And once you get to the playoffs, anything can happen. I know people are like, oh, well, you can get to the playoffs when it's done. But the fact of the matter is, teams that get to the playoffs every year that you never thought were going to make it, they make a run. The Bengals, case in point last year. Nobody had the Bengals pegged to make the playoffs beginning of the season last year. They made it to the Super Bowl. So you never know what's going to happen once you get into the playoffs. And so for me, we can't just blatantly give up on the season when the potential for us to make a run is obviously there. Uh, so what do we need to see from Mike White in order for us to feel better about him being the quarterback? Well, we just saw him have a real effective and efficient game this past week. You saw him attacking the field from the short route, short to intermediate and long gains. The wide receivers obviously trust him. The tight ends obviously trust him. You saw individuals that were having fun playing football with Mike White at the helm. I saw something not too long ago, and it was with Stephen A. Smith, and I hate his guts. I do, but he made a very valid point in his show. He stated that it's telling that when you see this kind of a situation happen, right? Even if the team members felt some type of way and they respected the guy who just lost their job, they try to go ahead and be more reserved in their celebrations and then their exuberance when it comes to celebrating the individual that took said person's job. Whether if you like them or respect them, you don't show out the way these guys have shown out, and it's leading one to believe that perhaps this might have been an issue this entire season, where people felt there was a bit of a chokehold on what this offense can be. See some of the couple of press conferences from Garrett Wilson, from Elijah Moore, that stated like this is what New York Jets football is supposed to look like. This is what we practice and how it's supposed to look whenever we play ball. And it wasn't just the likes of the young guys, you know what I'm saying, the older guys, CJ Uzama. You heard this from Corey Davis. Even Coach Sala went to say that Mike White made the easy look easy, right? Like, that's some pretty powerful words from the coaching staff and the players when you really take it into consideration. These are guys that are coming out right now that are literally blatantly just putting it all on the table, talking about how this is what the offense should look like, etc. And it's at the expense of Zach Wilson, maybe, potentially. Again, we're not in the locker room, so we don't really know what the ins and ongoings are, but I can say this. I think that for me, when it was Zach Wilson's press conference, I kind of frustrated me a little bit when he stated when he said he didn't let the team down last week or the defense down last week. That young man really believed he didn't do anything wrong. So much so that even he had to state in his apology that he apologized once his father told him, hey, nah, bruh, that wasn't it. Only then did it register to him that potentially what he might have said might have been the wrong thing to say. That to me doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense. You're telling me as a leader on this team, it didn't register to you that what you stated was not only highly inaccurate, showed a lack of accountability, but it could have impacted the relationship of your fellow teammates, where they're going out there, they're holding a freaking entire offense to 3 points, and it wasn't, you don't feel like you failed them in some way, not doing your job on offense. I think that kind of showed a lack of maturity on Zach's part, and I honestly believe that's why he lost his job. I know some people are going to say that, nah, I'm thinking too much into it, but I truly believe that he lost his job because he just couldn't fathom that he made a mistake. He made a mistake. And then, again, in this situation, in this scenario, the New York Jets right now are an organization that was fighting for a playoff spot against the Patriots. They were fighting for the AFC East lead. They were fighting for it. I.e., they win that game, they're in complete control of their destiny throughout the remainder of the season. But we lost that game. We lost twice to the Patriots, and in both times, I do believe it was Zach Wilson's fault. I do. I can't get over it. I can't put it behind me. We are 0-14 against this team in the last 7 years. In the last 7 years, we've lost to the Patriots. Opportunity this year was there. We had the better team. We had the better weapons. We just didn't have the quarterback. The quarterback didn't get the memo. He didn't show up for that game. And I think a majority of Jets fans would have gladly taken 2 Patriots wins and 1 loss from the Bills and 1 loss from the Dolphins if that's what it meant, right? But instead, we're 2-2 in the division, both losses coming from the freaking Patriots. Now, this week we're playing Minnesota. I think this game is going to be telling. Now, I'm not in the same boat and caveat of everybody saying oh, well, Mike White, it wasn't impressive. It was the Chicago Bears, blah, blah, blah. Because if you look at the statistics, the Chicago Bears have a better defense than the Vikings do. Statistically speaking, the Vikings defense is worse. But because it's the Vikings and it's a winning team right now at 9-1 or 9-2, everybody puts more weight on that. And that's fair. That's fair. I can respect that. But to say that's going to dictate whether or not Mike White is the guy because, well, against the Bears, it was a trash defense. Well, your argument is null and void because the Minnesota Vikings are a trash defense too. In fact, the remaining defenses that the Jets have to face are literally, I think, the highest ranking defense will be the Buffalo Bills defense, passing defense anyway, at 21 passing defense in terms of rankings. Everybody else is 24 or later. The Chicago Bears, in essence, are probably the last best passing defense we'll play this year, minus, of course, the Buffalo Bills. So all of that stuff is comical to me because like we're so adamant on wanting to be right that Zach Wilson was the guy, or right that Mike White's a bum or a bust or the worst thing we could put out there, that we're not even enjoying the fact that we're talking about a playoff spot. This is the 2022 New York Jets that when we came into the season, the majority would be happy with 7 or 8 wins. We're talking about a playoff spot, and we can't get behind our quarterback. I don't care if I personally wanted Joe Flacco out there. I did. And I'll be the first to admit when we heard we were going to be benching Zach, I was hoping it was going to be Joe. And I was also hesitant of Mike White based off of the last time I saw him play, it wasn't good against the Bills. But I can also be honest with myself and say, man, I have not seen this offense this effective since, Mike White last year against Cincinnati. It's obvious he's got a better grasp of the offense than Zach. It's obvious he sees the field significantly better than Zach. Zach has all the arm talent in the world, but he's regressed so dramatically that the kid can't even throw a simple screen pass. Literally 10 feet over his favorite, one of his favorite wide receivers in Jackson Berrios. His best friend, his safety net, like 10 feet above his head. Like, I don't understand how we as a fan base can't look at that and say, man, this kid shouldn't be out there. Shouldn't be out there. Thank God Mike White is showing us something because Zach hasn't shown us what Mike White showed us this past Sunday. And again, I'll say it again. I'm a Jets fan first. I'm a players fan second. I'm always going to root for the team and then the players second. Because at the end of the day, the players will come and go, will buy their jerseys, and then we'll be upset because they're gone. But the team is still the team. The Jets are still the Jets. And right now, personally, I'm ecstatic to see that Mike White can potentially, run this offense, even if it's at a mid-level. Zach Wilson wasn't even giving us mid. Y'all need to understand this. Zach Wilson was ranked 35 out of 32 quarterbacks in terms of QBR. There's 32 teams. He was ranked 30. That were backups that were better than Zach Wilson this year. If that doesn't make you just feel some type of way, I don't really know what to say to you, man. Like, all we need from our quarterback is mid-level quarterback play. Mid. We don't need a lot. Just mid. Just be mid. That 20 to 25 range is all we need for this team with this much talent to actually make the playoffs. Whether he can step it up a notch when we get to the playoffs would have been a different story. But we're upset because he's benched and Mike White is balling, and we're looking for every single excuse to devalue what Mike White did while we've been making excuses for Zach Wilson all year for throwing for, I think his best game came against the Patriots at 300-something yards. Passes thrown, 300 yards thrown, 2 touchdowns, but 3 interceptions. Like, I just don't get it. To me, it's just so difficult to comprehend, like, how we've let this particular situation become a stress point for the fan base. We've seen bad quarterback play from Zach Wilson for the last 2 years, and we'll keep going back to the couple of quarters he had. He had that great quarter, the fourth quarter against the Steelers, had a good game against Buffalo, had a good game against Miami. But when we're talking about those games, we're literally clapping our hands and jumping for joy because he didn't throw the ball, didn't turn the ball over, and he threw the ball for about 200-something yards on average in those games. We're so ecstatic about the mid-level of play that we're struggling to allow ourselves to just look at like, hey, look what great potential play could look like in this offense with somebody who understands and grasps the system. And no, Mike White does not have the arm talent of a Zach Wilson. He does not have the mobility of a Zach Wilson. But I got to say his IQ is up there. IQ is definitely higher than Zach Wilson. His accuracy is definitely higher than Zach Wilson. And in this particular scheme, with these kind of playmakers, with the amount of yak yards we can gain, I'll take that all day. Vice the guy who can go ahead and bomb it 60 yards down the field, you know what I'm saying, once or twice in the game. Give me the consistency part, because that's how you're going to be able to keep the defense resting on the sideline, moving the ball on offense, and giving your defense a chance to, when they're in there, they're fresh. And, who knows? You might be able to score a couple of points, which we saw freaking Mike White do in abundance this past weekend. So against Minnesota, I'm expecting it to be, I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a really good game. I don't know if the Jets win this game. I do believe the Jets need to win either against the Vikings or against the Buffalo Bills in order for us to pretty much set ourselves to gaining that last playoff spot. We're going to have to take one of these next two games. We got to. And in order for us to do so, if we get Mike White playing the way he did on Sunday, hell, if we get Mike White playing at 50% capacity the way he did on Sunday, I believe our defense matches up really well against the Vikings. I think Justin Jefferson is going to be the big question. Like, how can we go ahead and keep him in check? I think that's going to matter. But I do believe that when it's all said and done, that Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed are going to hold down that secondary. We can't forget about Adam Thielen. He's out there too. Dalvin Cook is somebody else we got to go ahead and take a look at. And I think we've got the weapons that match up well against their offensive weapons. And it's going to be whether or not our offense can go ahead and take advantage of that weak defense. But we match up well. We match up extremely well. I'm not going to predict a blowout for that game. I think it's going to be a close one-possession game. But I do believe the Jets have enough firepower if we can get Mike White to operate at half capacity the way he just did this past Sunday for us to win this game. Simple as that. We the people, I appreciate you for coming on, man. I see you guys. It does feel good to get another dub. I'm not going to lie to you. We needed this one. I know the coin officially is now wrong, has been debunked. But at the end of the day, I felt like no matter what, this win was a must, was necessary, because one, it's against it's an inferior team. The team does not match up well against us across the board. Even if they had Justin Fields playing, I didn't believe they matched up well. So I was really concerned that we were going to come in there and just pretty much punt it into the stands and lose this game. And to see that we did not do that was really, really refreshing. Anthony G, how you doing, brother? Jet the F up. Yeah, man, I got to admit, that's exactly what we needed from these guys, right? It's a lot of controversy, man. You got to think this whole week went by, and the New York Jets were in all kinds of headlines, all kinds of media outlets talking about how they benched Zach Wilson. People talking about how, like, it was a quarterback controversy. It's quarterback carousel. Like, no security at the most important position again. And of course, understandably so, it's that New York media market. It was going to be a big deal. I think based off of the chaotic aspects to this, I think our coaches did an incredible job at handling this, man. Coach Saleh, to me, proved one thing for real, is that he's the real deal. He's got balls. Because to go ahead and bench the number 2 overall pick from last year, 20 games in the midst of a win streak, he's only 5-2 on the season. He's only lost to the Patriots, and it is the Patriots. They happen to have our freaking number figured out, apparently. It takes a lot of guts for them to say, listen, it's about what's best for this team to win. So, yeah, man, they did jet the fuck up this weekend, man, and I love it. I love it because it didn't bite them in the butt, right? It didn't bite them in the ass. What wound up happening was Mike White went out there, balled out, and now we're talking about, oh, my God, we might have a franchise quarterback on the roster. All right, Anthony G says, preach, I'm tired of the Zach Wilson versus Mike White debates and bashing Zach Wilson or doubting let's enjoy the win. Exactly. Like, for me, I made a comment on Twitter, and apparently it upset a couple of people, right? I stated, well, Mike White just came in there and kind of Kurt Warnered Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson enjoyed the bench. And apparently that was the most disrespectful thing I could have said. In that moment, I'm like, are you serious? Are you watching Mike White play? Or we would want to interchange that and put Zach Wilson in there knowing that he can't hit a screen pass. Like, for me, it was the most ridiculous, like back and forth conversation, because apparently it was classless and I was bashing on Zach Wilson. I'm like, I literally said, that, yeah, he needs to get comfortable on the bench because right now, Mike White was balling out. He was looking like Kurt Warner, reincarnated, coming out there slinging that ball around. And people got so butthurt. And that's when I realized there's such a disconnect with the fan base, right? Where if you're a Zach Wilson truther, you be damned if you're going to go ahead and talk bad about Zach Wilson. Even if it is you saying, you know what, they made the right call by him being on the bench. People were getting offended and frustrated. But I agree with you, man. I think at the end of the day, the Jets are now 7-4. 7-4. It's the month of December, and we're talking playoffs. We're not talking about the draft. We're not talking about the draft. We're talking about the playoffs. And literally whether we're going to go ahead and get a wild card or if we have what it takes to actually win the AFC East. That's the conversation the New York Jets are currently in right now. We're in the 11th or 10th in the power rankings, so we haven't – it's been a roller coaster in terms of, like, internal stuff, right? The injuries, losing Breece Hall, AVT, benching Zach Wilson, and Mike White. We've had our own inner roller coaster, but the consistency of this team and of this defense to get W's is unmatched. It's unmatched. And, like, one thing I've heard a lot is people talking about, like, oh, the Jets are playing another freaking backup quarterback, blah, blah, blah. Like, they haven't faced a real quarterback. I laugh at those individuals. I'm like, well, okay, well, we have statistically the worst quarterback in the NFL playing for the Jets. The backup quarterbacks we faced are literally better than our starting quarterback with Zach Wilson. So when people talk that kind of crap, I'm like, so what does that say about our resolve and our team's ability to beat these teams without good quarterback play? So y'all keep talking about, like, oh, the Jets are only beating backup quarterbacks. Well, those guys are literally outperforming our quarterbacks. So, like, I don't understand what the argument is. Look at the stats. Zach Wilson is, statistically speaking, one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL, like, by far. So, like, when these backups are outperforming our guy, how is this a winning argument in your eyes that the Jets are only beating backup quarterbacks? Well, they're outperforming our starting quarterback. So, still thinks it speaks a lot to what kind of talent we have on this roster. But yeah, I'm all about it, man. I'm about to join the win. I think Mike White holds the reins until Mike White loses the reins. I'm one to go ahead and keep rolling with the hot hand. It's literally about to be December, and we're talking about playoffs. Not the draft, playoffs. Or AFC East champions. Like, bro, I'm in a great headspace right now, and I refuse to let anybody freaking bring me down. I don't care who you are. Only one that's going to bring me down is if these Jets freaking decide to tank, and it's just going to be conversation for another day. But, yeah, I'm all about it too, brother. All right, we the people. As long as they're wearing green and white and cheering, I'm cheering as hard as I can. 100%. 100%. Like, for me, I think this is perfectly said, right? If they're rocking if it's about the name on the front, not the name on the back. They're rocking that green and white. It says Jets on their jersey. Hey, I'm rooting for you. Go for it. I don't care if you bench Zach Wilson. Hell, I don't care if it was Strever that was out there outperforming freaking Mike White or Joe Flacco. If they're winning and they're performing for this team and we're winning, you've got my vote. You've got my vote, my support, and I'm going to scream. I'm going to be motivating, and I'm going to pump you up. I'm going to be your biggest advocate on social media, whatever the case might be. I'm all about seeing our team win. And for the first time in a long time, the New York Jets are relevant. And I don't think we know how to act as a fan base. I think that's when we don't know how to act. We're so afraid that it's going to go ahead and come crumbling down any moment by changing some things that I think that's one reason why so many people are upset of the QB change and why they wanted to stay with Zach Wilson. And look, Coach Silas said Zach Wilson is still a part of this roster. He's still the future of the Jets, right? That could be next year. That could be the following year. He's only going to be in year 3. Year 4, maybe he decides to go ahead and fit it off. There's time to figure out Zach Wilson. Again, rookie contract, rookie deal. And if Mike White is the guy and he proves to us he can be that bridge quarterback, until Zach Wilson figures it out, why would we be mad about that? It still puts the Jets on a winning curve right now, and we still have the quarterback of the future potentially on the roster. Times 2. If it's not Mike White, give Zach Wilson a chance again in a year or whatever the case might be. But you can't watch Zach Wilson play football right now and feel confident this is the guy you want to trot out there when he can't complete simple screen passes. So, yeah, I'm with you all the way, man, we the people. I'm all about pretty much making sure that I'm supporting whoever's winning. That's all I care about. Zach's issue is poor footwork. If he learns to ensure he's got a good base, lines it up, and drives through his throws, those things go away. You're right. But we're talking about the same stuff we talked about when he was in college too, right? Right, Anthony? Like, he had that concern. Yes, he got away with it in college because he had all day in the pocket. His wide receivers were notches above the competition in terms of the conference. So he was able to get away with it, and those guys could chase balls. He had time to. So it wasn't like the pressure of a defender getting in his face and that sloppy footwork, you know what I'm saying, was going to hurt him too bad. But this is the NFL. Everybody here is fast. Everybody, it doesn't matter. You could be the worst team in the league, best team in the league. The talent level is actually not a huge gap. Everybody will tell you that. The talent level is not huge. It's coaching and putting your players in the right positions to win. And the technical piece is what's going to separate some of these guys. The Patrick Mahomes of the world are very, very rare. They're like far and few between. Only Patrick Mahomes could be pretty much freaking on a 45-degree angle as he's falling and throw an accurate pass and hit a freaking player in the face, right, in an end zone. Like, that's just rare, weird, and unheard of. But as talented as Zach Wilson is, he gets away from that footwork, and that footwork is what causes his passes to be so erratic. The screen pass thing, man, when he did it to Mims, did it to freaking Wilson, and then, of course, to Braxton Berrios, man, that game was so atrocious. 2 yards in the second half, guys. That man threw for 2 yards in the second. 2 yards of total offense in the second half. That is disgusting on so many levels. But, yeah, I agree, Anthony. It might take him the rest of the season. It might take him going into next year. One thing a lot of people talked about is he's never had to work for anything before, but that's not really true. Like, even at BYU, he had to go through the process of potentially being benched, had to come back bigger, better, and stronger. He dealt with injuries. He's had to put in some work, right? He's also the kid who was driving around as well to do deliveries, you know what I'm saying, while he was at BYU. Not because he obviously needed to, because the kid is rich, but I think it was one of those things where either his father only gave him so much money. I don't know how it worked out, but he was a kid that was putting in some work, and I believe he's got a work ethic, right? This kid literally spent the summer just flying around to the locations of his weapons to work out with them. So I do believe Zach Wilson has the mindset and he has the work ethic. But unfortunately, mentally speaking, the footwork gets out of whack. He's depending on that arm way too much, and this is the NFL. Those windows close fast and rapidly, and he doesn't have the kind of time he did when he was in college, where it didn't affect him as much. But this was something that he did in college. We all knew this when he came out. Only thing better than Zach or Mike being good QB is Mike and Zach being good. 100%. 100%. And that's why I'm saying people aren't looking at it that way. Like, imagine if you have Mike White and Zach Wilson locked up for the next freaking 4 or 5 years, right? Injuries happen. You know, Zach Wilson has not completed a full season yet in his 2 years. Injuries happen. Imagine if, okay, he figures it all out. He's the guy. But you have Mike White in the wings just waiting to go any given time to pick it up, and the offense doesn't skip a beat, right? Very few teams can sit there and tell you they've got 2 starting quarterbacks on their roster. Right now, we can't say that we do either because Zach Wilson has not proven to us that he's that guy. But if he can clean this stuff up and he's good to go, it's better for us financially. It's better to maintain this building process long term. It's how you build dynasties. It's how you build dynasties when you're drafting your guys, you're cultivating those guys, and they become a part of the solution, vice being a part of the problem. So you're 100% right, Anthony. Like that could very well be the case, and I'm not gonna lie to you. I think it will be ideal if that's exactly what happens. Sergeant Mike, what's up, my guy? Nice to have you on, man. Appreciate you. So the Bears had no pass rush, and all receivers were wide open by yards. That's good. That's game proof. Nothing about Mike. Just showed how bad the Bears are. And I disagree there. Right? So, okay, I'm glad you brought that up. Isn't Mike White our third-string quarterback? He's our third-string quarterback, right? So he wasn't our starter. He's our third-string guy, came out there and he played. He also lost running backs 2 and running backs 3. So running backs 4 and running backs 5 were out there, balled out. Our offensive line, a patch job of individuals coming off of IR. Literally, a patch job. We give no credit to the fact that it was also raining conditions out there as well. And Mike White balled out like that. The thing is, we're saying it doesn't say anything about Mike White. The fact that the Jets beat a lesser team and beat them convincingly is what you're supposed to do if you're a good team. Is what you're supposed to do if you're a good team. Mike White did it with RB2 and RB3 out. He did it with a patch-up freaking offensive line. He also did it with him being quarterback 3. First start of the season in the pouring rain. And he did it convincingly. So you can tell me all that all you want to, that they had no this, no that. This isn't our starting quarterback. It's not like Zach Wilson went out there and did this and then we're pumping it up. This is literally quarterback 3. First start of the season. Went out there in the rain, patch up offensive line, running backs 2, running backs 3 out of the game. And he did that. He convincingly beat a team that we should have beaten. That's the thing. People aren't looking at it that way. Like, oh, well, it doesn't matter. It was just a no. It was a team that was lesser than us, and it got destroyed, and it was proven such on the field. That does matter. That does matter. Like, regardless of what people are saying right now, Mike White is not the starting quarterback for the New York Jets. He is now, but he is still quarterback 3. He did it with running backs 4 and 5. He did it with a patch-up offensive line that just came off of IR, and it's his first start in the season. Oh, and it was freaking pouring down rain. Like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't see why we can't. The same reason we're making excuses for it not being impressive. Why can't we look at it in actuality and be like, well, damn, we convincingly beat a team that we're better than. And we did it with QB3, RB4, RB5, and a patch-up offensive line. In the rain. You got to put it into perspective. And right now, it's just so many people want to go ahead and just dismiss it. They'd rather go ahead and find reasons not to put it into perspective, vice putting it into perspective. Appreciate the comment, though, Sergeant Mike. This could be the best thing to happen to Zach. A true home. And agreed. Yo, Zach Wilson did not show any remorse for saying that it wasn't his fault. And people are going to say, oh, he apologized. If you watch that press conference, Zach Wilson legitimately stated, like, oh, well, I didn't think, until I spoke to my dad, I didn't think I did anything wrong. You're the starting quarterback for the New York Jets, and your daddy had to tell you that you were out of pocket, stating that you weren't at fault for the horrendous performance that you had that cost this team a loss against the Patriots. Both losses against the Patriots coming at bad quarterback play. Like, I don't understand how he literally stated that he didn't know what he said was a big deal until his dad told him that. You're not gonna make me believe that the coaches didn't say something to him. Some of the players didn't say something to him. I have a hard time believing that CJ Uzama, Corey Davis, Braxton Berrios didn't go to him and say, like, bro, what are you doing? You shouldn't have said that. Right? Like, somebody said something to him. But it didn't click or register until his dad told him, hey, bro, you're out of pocket. So to me, that was frustrating. And I agree, man. I think it was a humbling moment because I think Coach Sala realized he was losing the locker room. And I 100% believe if Zach Wilson had been like, look, I played like shit. That was on me. The defense gave us all the opportunity in the world. I couldn't move the ball. You're the quarterback of the team, man. Believe it or don't believe it, don't care. You're still going to say it. You get all the freaking reward when the team wins. You should also be willing to hold those L's too, right? We keep saying how they're 5-2. Well, the defense has had a big role in why they're 5-2. Huge role. The running game had a huge role on how we're 5-2. But we keep saying Zach Wilson's 5-2. All right, Zach, the 2 losses came at some horrendous quarterback play. So for him to not take accountability, that was kind of frustrating to me. And I think that's the reason he got benched. I don't think he got benched because he played so badly against the Patriots. I think he got benched because he had the audacity at the press conference to say, yeah, no, I didn't let nobody down. It wasn't my fault. What? Like, what? And then when he apologized, it was because his dad told him that he was out of pocket. So for me, man, I think it was humbling. And again, I give all the props in the world to Coach Sala because it took guts to actually follow through and bench his number 2 overall pick from just a year ago while the team is actually winning. Okay, you still got to go out there and play well, Sergeant Mike. You beat who's in front of you. Let's root for the guy behind center. If it's Zach or Mike, root for the... Exactly, 100%, right? 100%. And that's why I'm saying a lot of people aren't giving credit to the fact that I don't care how bad the Bears are. You're right. The Bears are trash. They're not a great freaking defense, but they're still the 22nd ranked defense in the NFL. We're playing actually worse defenses after this team moving forward. The Vikings are actually a worse defense statistically than the actual Bears. Like, he went and he convincingly beat a team that he was supposed to beat while being QB3. I don't understand how we can find reasons to devalue it as a fan base and not look at it and be like, well, damn, actually, he's QB3 and he did that. And he had RB4 and RB5. And our offensive line was just patched up from the IR just like a few days before. How do we not look at that and be like, okay, this could be some. I can understand if you want to see more of it. That makes sense. But whenever somebody tells me, like, oh, let's see how he does against the Vikings, I'm like, bro, have you looked at the Vikings defense? They're trash. They're garbage. In fact, they're worse than the Bears. Like, what's the difference? The difference is the Vikings are 9 and whatever they are, 9-2. And the Bears are like 3 and freaking 8 or whatever it is. That's the only difference, even though their defense performs better than the Vikings defense. But I mean, I digress. I think it all boils down to, like, no matter what, like, it's going to have to be like, I think, after the Bills game. If Mike White has a good performance, now, it doesn't have to be great, it doesn't have to be like the Bears, just a good performance against the Bills, I want to say maybe then people will start respecting what he's done more, right? But I don't know. I think, like, at the end of the day, if you're a Mike White guy, a Zach Wilson guy, you're going to find excuses or explanations for either or. But for me, I'm rooting for whoever's getting his dubs. Whoever's behind center, so I want to go ahead and I'm never going to root for any of my players to do bad. I don't care how much I dislike them. Elijah Moore went out there, and I was still salty about how he freaking requested a trade in the midst of a freaking winning streak. And I was still like, man, I hope that boy eats, because I'm a Jets fan first, Players fan second. All right, boom. Agree with the people. Either he takes the heart. Nope. My bad, missed that one. Sergeant Mike, Bears have a bad defense, and Mike White did what a good QB does to a bad defense, and a constant downpour. Facts. 100%. Like, he did exactly what you expected a good quarterback to do against a bad defense. He feasted. Either he takes his heart and comes back better than ever, or he doesn't and he never goes. Yeah, man, Zach Wilson right now is in control of his own future. I think the way he comes back from this the very next time he has a chance to get in is going to be what ultimately dictates, like, you know what I'm saying, his success, if that makes any sense. And I just don't know. I don't know how he's gonna bounce back from this. I don't think any of us do. I hope Zach Wilson learns from this and humbles him, because the kid has extreme arm talent. I believe wholeheartedly that Zach Wilson has top 5 in the NFL level arm talent. But it doesn't mean anything if he can't put it all together mentally, right? And I do believe it's in his head where he gets rattled. His processing hasn't caught up yet, and when he panics, he loses his footwork. He just reverts back to what he's been trained out of. And people are talking about like it's freaking, you know, the coaching's fault, etc. I don't know, man. It's the NFL. Like, guys come from the college to the NFL all the time, and it's just too much for them, and they can't adapt. That's a thing. That's also very real. So I do hope that Zach Wilson figures it out and he comes back stronger and better, and he winds up being our guy, because it's literally what's best for the team if Zach Wilson is the guy. It really is. It's what's best for the team as a whole if Zach Wilson figures it out, puts it all together, and he's the guy for long-term success. Playoffs. Yeah, we talking about playoffs. That's legitimately a thing. Let's see what else. We control our own destiny. We went out and we take the AFC East. Actually, yes. You're right, 100%. Because we got to play the Bills. We got to play the Dolphins, which would give them losses to tie our. If we won out, yeah, no, 100% right. If we win out, the New York Jets win the AFC East. So that's a very good observation there, Anthony. Sergeant Mike, he says, Mike White needs to prove he can avoid unblocked rushers and throw passes more than 5 to 10 yards downfield. He had 4 passes downfield. He had no pressure, and those wide receivers were wide open. Why does he need to push it downfield when you have playmakers like C.J. Uzomah, Conklin, Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, who can get you yak yards? I think I understand it spreads the field a little bit, but when he had to make those downfield, he did that in this game. And the Bears defense had to adjust. In fact, there's a couple of plays that he took advantage of. I think both of his touchdown passes were more than 10 yards downfield. When you say, like, throw it downfield, you talking about you want to see a 20, 40, or 60-yard bomb? Or is it 10 yards, 15 yards? Is that considered downfield, Sergeant Mike? Because I think he did that convincingly this game. I'm not sure what wide open he had no pressure, and those wide receivers were wide open. Yeah, but he still had to hit those guys. Zach Wilson had a wide open Braxton Berrios 10 feet in front of him, and he threw it 10 yards above his head. It can't be that easy. Zach Wilson can't do it when they're 10 feet in front of him. He did the same thing with Denzel Mims, 6'4". He threw up 10 feet above his head. He was wide open both times, right? He missed a wide open Denzel Mims down the field, the center of the field, nobody around him against that Patriots game. That one throw could have probably been the one throw that won the game for the Jets. Wide open. Didn't even look his way. He looked his way, but was too afraid to throw it. So, hitting wide open guys is a good thing. That's what I would like my quarterback to do. Zach Wilson has proven he can't do that, even when they're just 10 feet away from him. Like, that's a huge concern. To be fair to Zach, though, he played really crazy defenses too, and in most of those games didn't do anything to lose the game for us. I'm happy for those 5 wins. No, you're right. In the 5 wins that we do have from Zach Wilson, he didn't lose us the game. He didn't lose us the game. And that's what the majority of people are saying. Like, but he's the number 2 overall pick, right? He's supposed to be our franchise guy. I think I want him to contribute to winning the game. Not just be able to say, man, Zach Wilson did a great job, just not turning it over. Zach Wilson did a really great job, of making sure he didn't lose us the game. Like, when we talk like that, like, think about that. Like, we're really talking about the number 2 overall pick, and we have this elite defense, and we're ecstatic because, man, thank God he didn't lose the game for us. I don't know, man. It makes me kind of – that's when you start to wonder whether or not this guy can be, a franchise quarterback. If what we're giving him props for is whether or not he didn't lose the game for us. I'm not rooting against Mike White, just that the game against the Bears didn't prove anything. Okay, that's fair shot at Mike. I mean, I disagree. I think it proved us that this offense can work with a competent quarterback back there playing the game. At the end of the day, these guys are NFL players getting paid money to play defense, and he took advantage of a weak defense. I think it proved to us that this offense, at the very least, can operate at a very, very impactful way. Because players do get open. They can score. They can create separation. They can do. There was one throw he made to Elijah Moore. It was the touchdown pass. No. It wasn't a touchdown pass. The 40-yard gainer. Like, if you're telling me that didn't prove to you how accurate freaking Mike White is, when Elijah Moore had to literally fake and outright to cut back in, and it was just thrown in perfectly. Right, like, that was a beautiful throw, beautiful route ran by freaking Elijah Moore. I think it proved a lot that we have the playmakers, and if you have competent QB play, you can go ahead and get big plays. That's what I think it proved to me. Zach's team to clean up that poor footwork second half of last year. He was playing great by the Bucs game. Where did that go? Facts. He did. Like, last year, I really thought like we were going to see more of that Zach Wilson coming into this year, and it was kind of frustrating to see that wasn't the case. And he kind of reverted back to, I don't know what he reverted back to, man. But now you're right. Like, when he came back from that injury, I thought Zach Wilson, I predicted earlier this season he was going to be a 4,000-yard QB. Obviously, I might have been a little bit overzealous with my prediction. But I really did believe that just based off of how he came back in the second half of last year, that he was going to come into this season carrying that in now with more weapons at his disposal, and he was going to feast. But I might have been a little bit overzealous. He couldn't live up to the MILF Hunter mentality. Mike White was elevated to second string a couple weeks ago. Yeah, I'm tracking that. All right. I see that we are... Okay, cool. I think Donald changes in his head. 3 of those 5 played a part in winning the game. Miami and Buffalo, Denver, and Green Bay. So might be just listen to Rockets. Okay, so ultimately... I appreciate 4,000 yards Samsonite. I was way off. Yeah, I was too, brother. I really thought he was going to hit 4,000 yards, and I really thought he was going to be in the conversation for like a Most Improved Player of the Year award. But yeah, I wasn't even in the ballpark. Nowhere near the ballpark of where Zach Wilson actually led off. So we're coming down to the wire, guys. At 7:55. I want to thank you guys for joining and watching the stream. I have to jump off here in 5 minutes and go do another video. I'm gonna be a co-host for the Battered Jets fan, stepping in for Bearded Fanatic. He's on vacation, so I do want to go ahead and do the Garrett Wilson raffle or giveaway pick. So this Garrett Wilson mini helmet is going to go to an individual that picked whatever number. I'm gonna go with 3 different numbers, 1 through 100, and then I will verify on Twitter whoever the winner is, and I will forward out. I will ship this out tomorrow or Thursday to that individual with tracking numbers. So if you weren't tracking it, I did a video on it earlier about doing this giveaway. Garrett Wilson balled out. I was really excited to see it. I was feeling very thankful after Thanksgiving. Wanted to just do a giveaway real quick and announce some big ones coming down the road. So if you're following me on YouTube, there's going to be a YouTube-only giveaway, and it's going to consist of, in fact, it's going to consist of a Darrell Revis autographed mini helmet, a Elijah Vera Tucker autographed jersey, and a Sack Exchange mini helmet. So it's going to be a 3-part giveaway. This giveaway is going to consist of whoever my first 1,000 subscribers are on YouTube will be the only ones that qualify for it. And whoever comes in first gets to pick between the 3 items, whatever they want. They'll get that. The second place winner will get to pick between the other 2. And then third place will get whatever the first 2 guys did not pick. That's going to be picked off of purely based off of, again, same concept of, I got to figure out that part so I can narrow it down. But only the first 1,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel are going to qualify for this 3-part giveaway. Hopefully here by the end of December. Right before Christmas time is when I want to go ahead and announce the winner. If I hit that 1,000 mark. If not, it'll just keep rolling until I hit the 1,000 mark. But I'll be doing a full video explaining that here relatively soon. But with that said, the winner of the Garrett Wilson autographed mini helmet. So I'm going to pull up my little freaking automatic raffle picker, number picker thingy. All right. Okay. So the numbers 1 through 100 are in the, hold on, wait for it. Nope, that's not it. Close. All right. So the numbers 1 through 100 are in here. I'm going to pick 3 of them just because I want to make sure that if the numbers weren't selected, hopefully I grab somebody out of the top, out of the 3. So press the record screen. Okay, so everybody can see it going down. Okay, the first number is 47. So if somebody did pick number 47 on Twitter, I'm about to find out here after I get off the live stream. You're going to be the person that gets the Garrett Wilson autographed mini helmet. But just in case, let's pick 2 more numbers. Backup number 1 will be number 15. And backup number 3 will be number 79. Okay, so there you have it. So 47, 15, 79. I will go ahead and find out if anybody has those numbers on Twitter, and whoever has that number will get the option of me shipping this out to them. If they don't want it, then the second place or the third place person has a shot at it, if that's the case. But like I said, once I get to 1,000 subscribers, I'm doing a 3-part giveaway, and only my first 1,000 subscribers on YouTube will qualify for it. Again, it's going to be so I know I ain't playing around. The Elijah Vera Tucker autographed jersey, the Sack Exchanged autographed mini helmets, and the Darrell Revis autographed mini helmet. So all of my stuff is certified. Everything is certified. So like you'll have that shipped out to you with the certification. And again, once I hit 1,000, we're going to go ahead and do this giveaway. And whoever comes in first, second, third, first person gets to pick whichever they want. Second person gets to pick whichever's left. And then third person will obviously get what's left out of the 3. So with that said, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for logging on. I got to jump on now and chill with freaking Battered Jets fan for a bit. And then I got to announce the winner of the autographed Garrett Wilson mini helmets. All right, y'all. I appreciate you guys, man, for jumping on with me, man. Have a good night. Yeah. Till next time. Peace.